Hi everybody, Fotaku here again, and what we have is an interview with Phillip here. Could you tell us a little bit about your production company?
The name of my company is called AAA American Entertainment, and it's a comic book company and a movie company. Actually, it's a movie company that's also a comic book company, I should put it that way. My partner, Ed Savage, is one of the best comic book artists and production managers for comic books that are around, and he and I joined forces because there was a point where when I was working for Allied Artists as an executive there at that studio, I was trying to bring him into the company. Well, ultimately that didn't happen. I left the company after about a year. But the idea of forming a comic book company that was part of the film company, not unlike the way Warner's owns DC Comics, Disney owns Marvel Comics, and so on, thought, okay, let's try that, see what happens. So we started putting out a comic book called Action Force, which is about a team of superheroes that we plan on turning into a motion picture.
Nice, that's incredible, and I really like how right now with how the scheme is with all these built continuities, superhero flicks. Exactly. I mean, that's something that would go into yourself. You've got the story already, and just might as well film it.
Our approach is to do two things. One of two things. One, we create a comic book, which in turn can turn into a movie, or we make motion pictures, we also can turn into comic books. So I have a horror film that hopefully we'll be I'll be doing some crowdfunding within the next 2 or 3 months. And shortly thereafter, we'll also be turning it into a comic book.
I like that. It's kind of like since you do it on both schemes, it's kind of like with how Star Wars essentially had its expanded universe and then was done as a film fan project by George Lucas. And then even in that respect, as it went on, there were also additional written content that was made after the fact of the movies as well.
Exactly. What's kind of interesting is that film and comic books are both extremely visual mediums, and as such they kind of lend each to one another. Comic books make wonderful subject matter for movies or even television, and by that same token, movies make the right kinds of movies, particularly action films or science fiction, lend themselves very well to comic books. In fact, what people forget about is one of the very first television shows ever made, and certainly one of the most successful ever done was The Adventures of Superman from 1951. Very early television show, and yet here it is, still being watched today after 60 more years, or more, however many years it is.
And that's pretty impressive with how that comes along. And I find this all great right here. Is it fine if I were to grab
This is one of my kids' films. It was the TV pilot we did a number of years ago. In fact, this was almost 20 years ago we did this, and now out on DVD, called Knights of Justice, based on the Big Bang comic book characters. And for those that have ever read Big Bang comics, they're very retro comics. They remind you of comic books from the 40s or 50s. So we in turn made the movie as if it were a kid show on the 1970s, like Bigfoot and Wild Boy, or Electro Woman and Dyna Girl, or Shazam and Isis. So it's designed to be just a whole lot of fun.
That's cool. Thanks.
Right. I'll tell you what. Here is my comic book right here. Called Action Force, and if you want to you can actually get it on Amazon.com.
Thank you for sharing that with us. I was curious, working along with this type of company where you double up with both, what would you say has been a memorable, fun, or just crazy experience that you've had when working along with your crew?
As far as motion pictures, probably the one thing they tend to stand out in my mind. When you meet, most people haven't got a clue about how you make a motion picture. That's actually one of the reasons I wrote a book called Make Movies That Make Money. Because even people that are in the business often don't know other aspects of the business. You could be a great special effects man, but you don't know how to write a script. And you could be a wonderful sound engineer, but you don't know about film production as a whole. So I wrote the book so you can see all the things that you need to do and put it in language that anybody can understand, even someone that's never had a film class or any experience, to show you all the things you need to do and how to do it cheaply. In fact, I actually made a movie a few years ago, which will probably be out hopefully by the end of the year or early next year, called Vampires, Lady of the Night, and I shot the whole feature film to kind of prove what I did in the book. I shot the whole feature film for $500. Yeah, now it's not something I ever want to do again. It's really hard to do, but I got a movie star to be in it. I got a whole bunch of locations. It looks like a fairly expensive movie, certainly far more than $500, but it proves my point.
That's great. It's great. It actually sums up with a different question I was going to have when it comes.
My old point is because hopefully it looks easy when you're dealing with people that are good at what they do. I get people around me a lot who think it'd be really simple to go off and make a movie. It's not, ladies and gentlemen. It's a lot of really hard work. and you have to be knowledgeable because movies are made here; they're not made here. So, if you know what you're doing, you can make a feature film, but you got to know how to approach everything, and that's one of the reasons why I wrote the book. But I keep running into people all the time that think that, well, you tell me that one thing I got to know, just tell me that one magic word, and I can make my own feature film. No, it takes a lot of study and a lot of effort. In fact, I put 40 years of knowledge into that one book. So go to your local library, pick it up. It's called Make Movies That Make Money. You don't have to even buy it. Just go to the library, get it free.
Well, thank you so much. We really do appreciate you taking the time for us.
I love being here at conventions and meeting people like yourself.
Thanks. We actually got a movie that we're working on called Any Given Weekend also.
Any Given Weekend, okay.
It's following more a type of like Clerks type of two guys kind of go nowhere type of lifestyle, but they're just waiting for that epiphany to change some things up with it. And even so with that, the only real major complications we've come into, Miguel's been really great, and so far the footage has been looking pretty decent. But the only issues we've had have so far just been more with everybody's scheduling for the most part.
Let me tell you 2 secrets for making a successful picture. One, when it comes to making the picture, before you even write the script, make a list of every single resource that you definitely, and I emphasize the word definitely, have access to. You have access to a dog, put down the dog. You have access to an apartment or a house, put that down. You have access to guns or knives or anything else that could possibly be a prop for your movie, write it all down. Once you have the list, you construct your script around what you have. That way you don't have to pay for anything. And that saves you not only a lot of money, but it makes it look like you have more money to begin with. Secondarily, one of the most important things you have to have is a fan base. So in other words, before you even start making your movie, start promoting it, create a web page for it if you can. Certainly get on social media and start creating pages for that on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, in the name of your movie. And then start posting stuff every day. Build up your audience. So here's the reason. I'm going to tell you a little secret that most people don't know. When you promote something, this is an old advertising data. When you promote something, somewhere between 0.5% to 2% actually participate in whatever you're advertising. So in other words, if I'm selling milk, I know that 0.5% to 2% will buy that milk. If you're making a movie, 0.5% to 2% will buy that movie, will contribute to your Indiegogo or Kickstarter campaign, may want to rent it at Redbox or whatever. So the larger the audience you have, the more of a fan base you have, the more likely it'll be a success. Also, that way you can also judge how much money you have to spend in order to make it successful. For example, right now, I went from about 800 people on Facebook to a combination of Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter within 1 year. And now I have over 11,000 people. Now, I had to really work hard to do it, but now that's not really that much. But I know there's always going to be several hundred people as a result of that who will buy my movies and will want to contribute to campaigns. I'll be doing an Indiegogo campaign for Shadow Squad, like I said, in a couple of months, and hopefully that'll help me dramatically. And I involve myself with people who also have really strong fan bases. They don't necessarily have to be stars. They just have to have a strong fan base. For example, one of the actresses I got involved, she's a cosplay model, but she has over 1 million fans on Instagram and Facebook and all the other social media platforms. So I know that by having her in the picture, I'm much more inclined to get people want to contribute to the campaign. So if you do that, you get those 2 things, make sure you write it around the resources you have and develop a fan base, you're much more likely, 1, to have a completed good film, and 2, have a successful film.
Thank you. Thank you again so much, Phillip.
Yeah, you're more than welcome.
All right, so we'll be wrapping up right here, but definitely come down, check this out, or if not, be sure to follow Phillip.
Yeah, and you can find me on Instagram or Cable Phillip, or Phillip Cable on Facebook and on Twitter, or Phillip Cable AAA, which is one of my names, or Shadow Squad Film on Twitter. So yeah, just check me out, and if you have any questions about filmmaking, write me, and I'd be more than happy to try to answer them for you. Oh man, once again, check out my book, Make Movies That Make Money. A little plug.
Thanks, guys, and that's a wrap.